Um, it's first of all, it doesn't exist,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole premise is full of holes. The thing has been promoted by these people, and they want to tax us. What it's all about is money.
Right.
And cap and trade do the same thing.
Right.
20% increase in taxes.
Oh, yeah.
And then, of course, the Copenhagen Agreement, if it's signed, will bypass Congress, and that'll add another 5%. So, with state and federal taxation and all the other stuff that you do, if you add it all up, you're 60-70%.
Mm-hmm.
So how
And, most people can't live with that. And again, any taxation on a net basis of over 50% eventually leads to revolution anyway.
Right.
And these people who are running this thing, they know that. They have people working 24/7, hundreds of thousands of them, planning all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they have endless amounts of money.
Right.
And so they know what's going to happen. They know what the reaction is. And they think they've got it figured all out. They think the people are going to lay down for them.
Oh, exactly.
And it's not going to happen that way.
I hope not. I really hope not. I don't know what they're going to do with all these people when they get them trapped in a corner. I mean, what are they going to do? Just feed them some, here you go, here's your little bit of food, and, you want to be a slave for us, or what are they going to do with us? So I hope you're right. I hope the American people take a stand.
Well, how much time do you think we have left with this before the dollar finally melts down and they have to make their move one way or the other, Bob?
I would think 1.5 to 3 years. And it's hard to time something like that, but that looks like a reasonable time frame. And of course, it depends upon when they want to pull the plug to go into deflationary depression. They created this thing, and they can do what they want to do, at least at this point, as to creating that environment. At the moment, they're inflating. Will they continue to inflate indefinitely, extending the problem, perhaps out 5 years? Maybe. We don't know that. I'm not on the inside. I don't have any connections in the Illuminati. I back into what I see them doing historically.
Yeah. Well, it's so. I guess that to answer your question, Guy, what are they going to do with us? Well, obviously, there's got to be some plan. You don't go this far down the road with making these many plans and not have some sort of end requirement. They already know what's going to happen to everybody.
But how much money
they
is
do
power?
at least.
Right.
That's right, Bob. At least they think they do. But
right.
I mean, whether it's like you said, whether it's a concentration camp or it's going to be just some sort of a control, basically an RFID type world or whatever it's going to be, that they think it's going to be, they're never going to get 100%, and the percentage that they end up not getting are going to be the worst nightmare for them. That's the way I look at it.
Well, they can't turn back. June of 2003 was the time that they had put half their plan into action. And after that, it was over. There's no going back. It was discussed at the Bilderberger meeting in May of this year in Greece. Can we hold this thing off and do it at another time? And the members at the meeting were told, no, we can't reverse this thing. So if they are being forced to expedite their program, which they are, and that's because of programs like this and the talk programs throughout radio and the internet, they're having problems they never dreamed of. And as you expedite a program, what happens is that you make mistakes, and make mistakes that you wouldn't normally make. And so they get problems. And, this time, we know who they all are. We know what they're up to. And if they lose, they're not going to live.
Oh, that's a good sign, actually. I say drag him in the streets and let's get it over with. But, that
yeah, but you have Western justice in your blood, Guy. I mean, that's good. That's
I
good.
do. I do.
I think Americans, for years, they've lived such a easygoing, kind of a surreal life in this country for so long that now that as soon as hard times are there, people, they don't know how to act.
Yeah. Well, no one was prepared.
All you need is 5% of the population to decide that they're going to change the government, and it's over. The British found that out in the late 1700s. They outnumbered the enemy. They had professional soldiers, and they lost.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they lost is that these people were very dedicated to wanting their freedom from a very oppressive government that was totally corrupt. And half the population stood on one side saying, hey, we don't want this guy, King George, here, and we want him out, but I'm not going to get involved in any war. And then on the other side, you had the Tories that said, well, we want George, but we ain't going to get involved in any war either. We'll just see what the soldiers do. And if we win, we win. If we don't, we don't. And nothing's going to happen to us. And every revolution is like that. There's the dedicated people who are willing to go out and say, out of here. And they'll be there. Believe me, they will be there. So we don't need 95% of the population to be against the enemy who is running our government from behind the scenes. All we need is 5% who said, let's go kick their ass.
I'm liking this.
I think you're going to get a higher percentage than 5, to be honest with you.
Well, I think you're right, but that's all you need. And if they think they're going to use these mercenaries that they've got to put down the American people, you got to be kidding me.
Well,
there's 450 million guns in the country. Do they really think they're going to get them all?
It's going to take more than that. They're going to have to do something on a catastrophic level to put people on their heels to be able to do something like that. Whether it's a conflict that involves nuclear, biological, or chemical weapons, or if it's some sort of other catastrophe. But there will, that would have to be perpetrated in conjunction with that for them to even attempt to pull something like that off. There's too many smart people in this country that are watching this.
The military knows all about this. Believe me, I do a military program, and you should see the instant messages and phone calls that we get. Get a lot of information on what's going on. They know what's going on. And, the Pentagon, who cares about the Pentagon? It's the guys in the field.
Oh, I agree.
That's what makes the difference. And they are not going to go with the government. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
What do you think the generals would do in such a situation? Just hypothetically, I mean, what do you think that the U.S. generals would do if they tried to actually come down against the people of this country? I mean, do you think I
think it vary widely, and it doesn't matter what the generals want to do. I mean, their other officers and enlisted men can capture them if they don't like what they're doing and put them in the brig and let them stay there until it's over. That's pretty simple. Just because somebody's got this rank, it doesn't make any difference in a situation like that. They can say, men, we're going to go over and guard the Congress because we think there's some bad people out there, and if you see them, shoot them. Well, the people in the military are going to say, hey, wait a minute. And that's an unlawful order. You're telling me to go up and shoot people because they politically disagree with the government.
Right.
And I'm not going to do that. I mean, that was the excuse that they used at Nuremberg. Well, my officers told me to go shoot everybody who had green eyes. I mean, give me a break. They're not going to do it.